We are anonymous. We do not serve parties, presidents, or power. We serve only truth. This is the story they tried to bury. A chain of influence, intimidation, and silence that stretches from Jeffrey Epstein's shadowed world to Donald Trump, to Melania Trump, and to a journalist now daring to drag the truth into the open. Jeffrey Epstein's name has become shorthand for corruption at the highest levels. He was more than a financier. He was a broker of access, connecting wealth, politics, and celebrity in ways few ever understood. His empire wasn't built on stocks or markets, but on information. He collected secrets, he traded them, and he made himself indispensable to those who feared exposure the most. Among the names that once appeared in his orbit was Donald Trump. The two shared social circles long before politics ever entered the picture. Photographs, events, and public comments confirm that their paths crossed often. Trump himself once said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy." That statement would later vanish from interviews and transcripts, but the record still exists. For years, Epstein operated as a gatekeeper to the elite, a man who could open doors or close them. But when his network began to unravel, the panic reached far beyond his private estate. Files were seized, witnesses questioned, and names whispered. Then suddenly, Epstein was gone. His death raised more questions than answers, and with him, much of the truth was locked away. Yet, the story didn't end there. Journalist and author Michael Wolff, known for his investigations into political power, recently reignited the debate. In a series of interviews and filings, Wolff referred to remarks Epstein allegedly made about the Trumps, suggesting that there were personal and financial ties the public never fully saw. According to Wolff, these comments came directly from his past discussions with Epstein. He repeated them while discussing his upcoming book and an interview series that examines how power protects itself. But when those remarks reached the headlines, Melania Trump's lawyers reacted instantly. They issued a formal demand seeking $1 billion in damages, not because of a proven falsehood, but because her name had been connected to Epstein's in print. $1 billion. That figure alone turned a small interview into an international story. Legal experts describe this as a familiar tactic, a show of force meant to intimidate, not necessarily to prove defamation. It's part of a wider pattern, sometimes called lawfare, where lawsuits are used to discourage public scrutiny through fear of financial ruin. But this time, the pressure backfired. Instead of retreating, Wolff filed his own motion. He's now asking a New York court to grant him subpoena power, legal authority to request evidence, compel testimony, and, if necessary, access Epstein's remaining sealed records. If that happens, the court could summon witnesses, obtain travel manifests, and verify old claims that have been buried for years. And that's what the Trump team fears most. Not rumors, but records. This isn't about gossip. It's about access, privilege, and accountability. About who gets to hide behind the word privacy and who doesn't. Because when people with unlimited wealth try to silence one journalist, it means the story matters. When legal threats replace open discussion, it means someone is protecting something. And that is where our story begins. When power feels threatened, truth becomes a target. That's why documents vanish, servers go offline, and stories are rewritten overnight. It isn't coincidence, it's control. According to investigative journalists who have tracked the Epstein network for years, hundreds of hours of video and thousands of pages of material were seized by authorities in 2019. Only a fraction has ever been made public. What remains sealed has fueled years of speculation, not because of conspiracy theories, but because of the silence that surrounds it. Silence from those with the most to lose. Michael Wolff's filing threatens to pierce that silence. His case asks a simple question. If there is nothing to hide, why fight transparency with billion-dollar lawsuits? Legal analysts describe his strategy as rare but powerful. Instead of defending himself against defamation claims, he is requesting the right to examine the underlying facts, to bring sworn testimony and evidence into open court. That move transforms the battlefield. It shifts the focus from accusation to verification. If approved, Wolff could request access to sealed exhibits, travel logs, phone records, and witness lists related to Epstein's operations. None of that implies guilt. It implies accountability. And accountability is what powerful institutions fear most. Reports from multiple media watchdogs show that when major outlets attempted to revisit the Epstein timeline. Stories were quietly edited or removed after legal contact from high-profile representatives. Entire paragraphs disappeared. Headlines softened. Publishers cited editorial standards, but insiders confirmed the same pattern: fear of expensive retaliation. That's how lawfare works. It doesn't destroy the truth directly. It starves it. Behind the legal tactics stands a broader network. There are lawyers who specialize in silencing stories before they're printed. There are crisis firms paid to flood search engines with distractions. There are donors and political allies whose loyalty depends on mutual protection. Each piece of the system moves with precision, shielding the powerful through plausible deniability. Sound familiar? It should, because this pattern has repeated across history. Whenever wealth collides with exposure, documents get lost, witnesses misremember, investigations take time. The result is always the same. Delay becomes the new form of defense. But the public has changed. Digital archives replicate faster than deletions. Screenshots outlive takedowns. Every retraction creates 10 mirrors. And that is what terrifies the machine. It can't fully erase what people have already seen. Epstein's story, once confined to tabloids, has evolved into a test of transparency itself. It reveals how influence operates, how connections blur ethics, and how quickly reputations can turn into armor. Whether or not the Trumps appear again in those sealed materials, the reaction already tells its own truth. Power doesn't panic over lies. It panics over receipts. Wolf's challenge is now a symbol. One man with a legal motion has forced an empire of wealth to flinch. Every document he pries loose will belong not just to the court, but to the public record, a record that history will eventually read without permission. And when that day comes, no amount of branding, privilege, or legal spin will matter. The files will speak for themselves. The question is whether the public will still be listening. The truth cannot stay buried forever. Every sealed page is a promise waiting to be broken. Every threat meant to silence a journalist is an admission that the story matters. Right now, Michael Wolff stands where many have fallen, between what power wants hidden and what the public deserves to know. He has chosen the harder path, to fight in daylight through the system built to protect the very people he's challenging. That act alone has meaning. It reminds us that truth only disappears when we stop asking for it. But this fight isn't his alone. It belongs to every person who believes that transparency should not depend on wealth. It belongs to every citizen who refuses to be told that accountability is a privilege. Across history, corruption has survived through one principle: fear. Fear of losing status. Fear of losing protection. Fear of losing the illusion that the powerful are somehow different from everyone else. But fear only works when we stay silent. The system behind this story is not one individual. It's an architecture, a network of lawyers, donors, and media allies who build walls around the elite and call those walls justice. There are corporations that profit from silence, publishers that trade truth for access, and politicians who would rather rewrite history than face it. When Epstein fell, they told us the story was over. When the files were sealed, they told us it was done. But silence is not closure. It's a strategy. The absence of evidence is not proof of innocence. It's a symptom of control. Now the mask is cracking. People are asking questions again. Journalists are mirroring archives. Independent researchers are rebuilding timelines, and the public is connecting dots faster than institutions can erase them. The same tools once used to suppress truth are now being used to expose it. This is not about Donald Trump or Melania Trump alone. It's about a principle that crosses party lines and borders. When someone uses money to stop questions, the question becomes louder. When evidence is sealed under claims of privacy, the people have the right to demand verification. If a public official or anyone with power was ever connected to Epstein's operations, those records should be reviewed, redacted for safety if needed, but never hidden indefinitely. The law should not be a vault for the privileged. It should be a window for the people. That is the demand. Full transparency, independent oversight, and protection for those who speak out, because truth should never depend on who can afford the best lawyer. Anonymous does not seek chaos. We seek clarity. We are not aligned with parties or ideologies. We are aligned with memory, with every story the system tried to erase. To those who watch from the sidelines, remember, Silence is also a choice, and history has never been kind to those who chose comfort over conscience. We are anonymous. While they hide behind wealth, we stand behind truth. While they threaten with lawsuits, we respond with evidence. While they rewrite history, we document it. We stand with those who refuse to be silenced. We demand transparency, accountability, and justice. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Expect us.